horror, that means not another Vampirilla that's coming. It's a new comic from Dark Horse. It's out of the bag here because I'll have to rebag it to show it to you to make it look proper. Shock Shop. I like this one. It really reminds me of like an old, oh, what's the term I want? Like an old Tales from the Crypt, Crypt Keeper Eerie, because I love those anthology comics. What this is it's a brand new horror anthology. It's like a flip comic because you'll see what I mean by that when I have to flip it. And there's 2 tales in this book. It's going to be a 4-issue miniseries. First one is called Familiars. It's about a divorce, probably a custody battle. This guy Trevor's going to rent a house. It's haunted. The other story is called Something in the Woods in the Dark. It's a husband and wife. They're trying to reconnect, do all kind of husband and wife stuff at a camping trip in the woods. And things go wrong. We're going to find that out when we look through it here in just a second. This just came out, so go to your local comic book store. It actually came out last Tuesday. You can still get it. Issue 2's not out yet. But this is issue 1 of Dark Horse's Shock Shop. Well, nothing beats a good horror anthology book. And here we have Shock Shop number 1. It's going to be a 4-issue miniseries. Like I said, I'm just opening an Elegant Seam Guide from the shop. I got to change bags and board it, but it's got the mature, do not open. I like this as the cover I'm going to display because it says in loving memory of Neil Adams. I like that. Flip it upside down. You have the other one. She's got her comic book rack. I don't know. I just like this particular cover better, but let's open it up. It's 2 stories, and it's done very uniquely. By unique, I'll show you what I mean. So we'll start it off on this way. And it's a quick book to read. I really liked it. Familiars is going to be the story on this side. It's where you meet your host of the Shock Shop, where they have comics, games, records, and graveside services. This is Desmondia Nimu Moru, and today is the grand opening of the Shock Shop. The story she's telling you here is Familiars, and you see it centers around this guy named Trevor. He's buying this old house. He just bought it. The real estate agent's kind of flirting with him. She's telling him, oh, this would be great. Oh, you're divorced. I know you had kids. And he goes in and he unpacks his stuff and he's to hell with it. I'm tired. Well, he wakes up. What the fuck? Everything's set up. Coffee's made. What the fuck? He doesn't know what's going on. Here comes his ex-wife. She's bringing the kids. They're happy. They go in there and he says, my house is magic. Give my kids a proper welcome. Well, everything's going crazy. They're like, what are you doing? He's like, hey, help the kids with the bags. And the bags float upstairs. What can it do? And now it's moving everything while they play music, and everything's floating while they cook. And the girl's floating like Mary Poppins. The boy's floating like Superman. You're flying like Superman. They're making cookies, and they're like, Dad, aren't you scared? You live in a haunted house. It's haunted. He's like, no, it's nothing to be afraid of. It's, remember fairy tales? It's the story of the shoemaker and the elves. It's just like that. The house has elves. Elves, fairies, gnomes, a bunch of happy, helpful little spirits. And as you see on the last panel, they ain't little spirits. You have some kind of werewolf creature, multi-eyed octopus-like demon that looks just like the bottom of my Lobo statue, another skeleton-like demon. And as the kids are playing, they're surrounded by all this. Now, this is what I thought was kind of a really neat concept of this. When you turn the page, it tells you, the terror continues in these 2 tales about plagued families. In the first story, woolen monster, blah, blah, blah. That's the other thing. Anyway, on October 5th, there'll be issue 2. Yes, this is a brand new issue. But see, the girl says, don't turn the page. You flip the book over to start another hair-raising tale. It's upside down. So now we flip it. I think this is a pretty unique concept. Something in the woods in the dark. And here she is, Desmondia Nimu Maru, which I probably said wrong. She's inside the comic book store, and she's telling the story. There's a bunch of married couples here, and they're in the woods, and, they're just kind of, they're just sharing some old stories. This guy had a broken arm when he was a kid. Don't tell my mom. How old were we? Blah, blah, blah. Here for some fresh starts. Well, they're here for some fresh starts because Willa and I do believe Carl's his name. They're, he's in the tent and he comes in here. She's like, oh, it's a mistake and trying this. You know that, right? So nothing happens. That's when we're outside. That comfortable. These people need a marriage counselor. They need a divorce lawyer. Clark, I'm sorry. He's trying. Will is not. From what you can gather in the backstory, it looks like Clark went to jail for about 6 months, fudging some numbers on the books, little white collar crime, and while he was in the clink, she was doing some other guy, and they're just kind of trying to make it work. They brought their friends along with them, but it's not working until, out in the woods, we got our guy, Willa. What the hell are you doing out here? You're going to freeze to death, because she's naked. Willa, are you all right? Where are you going? What's going on? Why aren't you here by your, dead. Dead, mangled. She's some kind of weird snake demon. He's dead. He's cocooned up. There's his body. And the terror is going to continue. And don't turn this page. Flip the book. Dum dum dum. Now you get to see the Lonesome Hunters. And then it takes us back to our old story. This is very slick. Once again, I love this artwork. This cover is the cover I just really enjoy. It really reminds me of an old Tales from the Crypt like that. This is a Dark Horse Comics. It just was released, #1 of Shock Shop. That was a really cool book. I really liked it. I liked the whole concept of how it flips. I thought that was neat. I like a little gimmick once in a while. I always like the 3D comic gimmicks. There's some good 3D horror books out there if you look, but that was fun. I liked it a lot. I like a good horror book, especially the anthology type. There's not many out there. I know you still have the Grim Tales of Terror. There was Trailer Park of Terror was a really good one. It's really, there's not most of them newer horror books, they just don't seem to last that long, which, unfortunately, this is just a 4-issue miniseries. So, go and get your first issue. Like I said, go to your local comic shop, pick it up. October 5th is when issue 2 is going to drop. It's going to be monthly. Wait, I'm sure it'll come into a trade paperback if you'd rather just do it that way. As you can see, it's a very quick read, but it is very cool. I liked it. I love a good horror comic book. And this is one of the better, newer ones that I've read in quite some time. What are your favorite horror comics? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I ask that you give me a nice like, give me a subscribe, tell your friends, and we'll see you tomorrow.